What's going on, guys? Welcome on back to the Second in Short podcast here on the Mosaic MC Network. I am your host, Kyle Lauder, joined with Mosaic MC Jason Beasley, and rookie draft season is in full effect. Last week, we did our 1.0 Superflex mock draft, going back and forth for 2 rounds. And today, we're here to tell you guys about 6 rookies that if you leave your rookie draft with, you're going to be a winner. They're going to benefit you. We're even going to drop in 2 honorable mentions that are guys that are going to be undrafted as well. So give me your first player that you're trying to leave with and that you think other people, if you leave with this player, especially around their ADP, and the ADP is going to change. Varies draft to draft. But if you leave with this player, you're going to be a winner.
Mine is Jonathan Mingo for your Carolina Panthers. I think leaving the draft with him, his current ADPs, early second round, and like you said, ADPs will fluctuate there. But getting somebody with his size and caliber to grow with your quarterback is a huge asset. We talked about it many times before. Big body, he's probably 6'2", 200. Around 220. You have hyped this guy up to me significantly for me to do the research. Steve Smith was high on him. So it's getting a stamp of approval from a Hall of Fame wide receiver for the organization and drawing some comparisons is not only a stamp of approval league-wise, but fantasy-wise. You see that potential there, the chance of growth, and you see that there's going to be a lot of targets that he's going to be able to have with Thielen and everyone else that they brought in.
So a big benefit to Jonathan Mingo is that he's a guy that you can get at the top end of your second round. I did just have a rookie draft that I'm still in the second round of, and he did go at pick 110. So his range is slowly starting to increase, but he is typically the 5th receiver off the board, sometimes the 4th in your rookie drafts, as he was in the NFL draft. Yeah, 6'2", 220 pounds. The things that benefit him being selected as a second-round draft pick is the competition room he has. I mean, we have Adam Thielen, who's in his about mid-30s. We have DJ Chark, who's on a 1-year deal. We have Terrence Marshall, who's yet to really step up. Laviska Shenault, who's really yet to just be more than just a gadget guy. And there's really no, Hayden Hurst is there at tight end, but there's no locked in, post up guy too much outside of really Hurst, who's also, even though he's been in the league for 5 years, he's still aging in his as well. And so it provides a nice upside where he can build with young. He can develop this chemistry right away in their rookie mini camps, as well as develop at an early offseason programs with them. And this could be a very beneficial pick where this is a guy that going into year 2 is a consistent flex pick for you as he potentially takes the step up into that number 2 spot, moving into the number 1 spot. The development of Terrence Marshall will really impact his play time early because Marshall's going into his 3rd year. If he takes that step in that 3rd year, then that's, where receivers typically do. Then that'll kind of impact it a little bit, but realistically, he should find a nice role within a 4-receiver rotation. We know Thielen plays a lot out of the slot. DJ Chark, he's your X that's going to go. So really, it's him versus Marshall. And ideally, if we're looking at this, let's say super flex range, and let's just say you didn't trade your picks, you're coming off of at 1-4, grabbing a quarterback, more than likely, or you're grabbing Gibbs as a running back. So being able to get a top 5 receiver at your next pick is pretty beneficial. Now, I've been moving up and trying to get him at 2-1, 2-2 in a lot of drafts. So it might not work out, but they kind of, like we said, they fluctuate. But if you come out of your draft with the QB 2 or running back 2 and the wide receiver 5 right away out the get-go, your rebuild is gonna happen faster than not. Now, mine that we're going to go with is also in the second round. This ADP is really flawed because these are all super flex ADP values. So anything we say here with ADP, move them up 4 spots for a single quarterback, essentially. Yeah. So Jonathan Mingo is going to be back end of the 1st for your single quarterback leagues. But I have a running back out of Texas, Roschon Johnson. ADP of 24 in Superflex, which is 212. I have yet to see him go that late. He was pre-draft. I did a rookie draft. I have one league that does it early, 2-3 weeks early before the NFL draft, and he was going like fourth, fifth round, and then he got, I would say, relatively well draft capital going in the fourth round, pick 115 to the Bears. A very run-heavy team, a guy that I think that if he played at anywhere besides like Alabama, let's see, I think Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, or like UCLA, he looks like one of the best running backs in all of college football. Unfortunately, not even unfortunately, he got stuck behind a good running back. And I don't see that as like a negative, him being like the number 2 in college. We saw lots of guys coming out of Alabama. Granted, sure, not all of them, Trent Richardson, stuff didn't pan out. But
Yeah.
consistently seeing guys hit out of Alabama, and so when I see stuff like that, I go, you know what? I don't worry. And then he goes to Chicago, the team that, sure, the Chicago Bears fans, if you're listening to this, if you're on Twitter and everything, you think that you guys are Super Bowl bound. Carolina Panthers just gifted you a top 3 pick. Your quarterback's going to develop and skyrocket and everything. The reality is he probably isn't. The offensive line isn't great enough for the pass game to be protected enough for him to actually develop and push through. But what they do really well is they run the ball. We saw David Montgomery do really well there. Little Herbert had success. And all they brought in the offseason after losing Montgomery was Devontae Foreman. And then they, signed Roschon Johnson. Well, Herbert's almost at the end of his rookie deal. Foreman's on a 1-year deal. Roschon Johnson is a guy that you can get probably mid-second. You're probably going to have to move up in the back end of your second. Get this guy, but in year 2, he's going to be a starter in my eyes because I don't think the Bears' offensive line is complete. So come next year, I think they're going to try and fix the offensive line and add to the defense as well, which is going to protect Johnson being the lead back in 2024.
Yeah, and this is somebody that me and you discussed heavily. There's really no competition for him because, if they had faith in Foreman or Khalil Herbert, they wouldn't have took this kid. That if you have like so much faith in your run game after Montgomery walks, then you're not going to go out and get an athletic specimen such as this to pair with Justin Fields, who is a very mobile quarterback that runs the ball as well. It gives you a 2-headed monster and a run pass game that is, very high end. But yeah, we've seen it in the past. Look at, you mentioned Alabama. Alabama had a backfield of 3 white RB1, RB2s currently in the NFL, all in their backfield at one time. And if they would have been on any other team, they would have been a RB1. They would have had a lot more spotlight. But it being Alabama, you have the elite of the elite. Sitting behind Robinson, everybody is like, that was, you didn't get to see him. He didn't get to perform. It's a testament, 1, for Robinson. 2, that's less wear and tear that you have on a body. So that helps longevity. So the Bears going out and getting this, and is a great asset, especially when you can grab him at his current ADP and set yourself up for a starting running back next year with very little capital invested.
Roschon Johnson actually came into Texas as a quarterback as a freshman, converted to running back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and really was an athlete essentially coming out of high school. But every year he's put up at least 80 attempts. He's put up over 5 yards per carry and every year, and he's put up over 400 yards every year. Last year with Johnson taking up the bulk of the touches, he had 93 carries, 554 yards, and 5 touchdowns. On top of that, he had 14 receptions as well, which that number doesn't seem high, but anytime you see a college running back that's like a starter and they're below like 20, it's like, oof. But if they're above that, it's like, holy cow, this guy's the number 2 and he's catching 14 passes. He's clearly not on the field as much. So I think overall, he's just going to be a very well-rounded prospect. And he's a guy that keep him on your taxi squad for a year, and then his value is going to return. Sooner rather than later. Who's your second guy that you think you need to get to come out as a winner?
We're going to stay in the Big 12 and talk running backs. I'm going with Kendre Miller, who went to the Saints. I think he landed in a great spot for this year that you can benefit and see what you're investing in. You know, with Kamara coming off of the off-field issues, plus you see him going into this twilight of his career. You can plug him in. You got Jamal Williams down there, who is a great journeyman running back, but kind of plays that relief role better than a bell cow. So Miller coming in has really good shiftiness. I watched a lot of TCU this year, being a Big 12 fan. So this kid is electric on the field. His cuts are just unreal. He can plant and make a linebacker miss with ease. He's got that top end speed that can create separation once he gets in the open field with the defensive back. So this is a great aspect. And plus, the division he's playing in is an asset as well. A lot of people are down on the NFC South, but it's a division that's regrouping, rebuilding, and for him to come in and have that opportunity to shine early is a huge, huge thing, an asset to add to your, because he's going what, mid seconds?
He's going early second, 2.2. He's ADP of 14. Okay. So in single quarterbacks, he's probably going at the back four of your first round, your 1.9 to 112 range is where he's going. But in Superflex leagues, he's consistently, I've seen, getting drafted around 111 to 202 is where he is, kind of as like the fourth running back taken in most situations. And the big thing, too, is that at time of recording, Kendre Miller is only 20 years old. First 2 years in college had about a combined, 1,200 yards. And then in his last season, this past year, over 5 yards per carry, put like 1,300 yards up on the ground as well, like 17 touchdowns as well. Was fantastic for TCU. A big reason why they were where they were. Being a third-round pick as a running back is not so bad. It's an early third-round pick as well, at pick 71. And the thing, too, is that Alvin Kamara could have suspension, could not. This could be an impact this year, could not. But going into 2024, Kamara's cap hit jumps. There's a lot of these that running back class we see do. That's the reason why we're seeing talks of, Dalvin Cook maybe getting cut and everything so they can save cap because next year it's big. Joe Mixon, same thing. Alvin Kamara's in the same category. And while Alvin Kamara is not super old or anything, it is a shift that we're seeing coming. Now, they did sign Jamal Williams, who's going to obviously vulture every touchdown from everybody. However, though, Kendre Miller is a guy that I think that you can draft as an early second-round pick. And if Kamara's suspension to start the season, Miller could show out early, and you could actually return that investment for a 2024 first, I think, from a contender pretty early, which sure might be a risk because he could blow up. But yeah, Kendre Miller's in a good spot to develop it and kind of just sit back. That's kind of what you want for some of these, like, day two running backs. Like, sure, it's great if they go somewhere as the guy, but there's a body in front of them that is on their way out. That's a positive. And I'm pretty sure, I don't have the age on it, but I think Kamara and Williams are both like 27 to 29. They're in that
range. They're late 20s.
Yeah. Now over to me, my next guy. We're going to go a little bit deeper for you guys. We're going to go wide receiver, Tank Dell. This is a guy that is coming out to the Houston Texans. He played at the University of Houston as well, so he gets to stay where he's at. Pick 69, so an early third as well. The reports came out that TJ Stroud was all about this guy. And he said, go get me my guy. Now, he is 23 years old. He is 5'10". He's 100, let's just say 170 pounds would be nice. He's not the biggest guy. However, he comes into a situation where his competition to beat out are guys that we like. Nico Collins, Brandon Cooks, Noah Brown, John Michie's going to be back. A lot of undersized receivers in that group too. Not all of them, but just in that group. But we see a rookie get drafted the same year as his quarterback, and we tend to see that connection kind of build. It's the same reason why we like Mingo, with Young. And Tank Della's ADP is currently 44, mind you. I didn't say that. So he's getting drafted about 3.8 is where he's getting drafted at, or 4.8, sorry. Pick 4.8 is where he's getting drafted. So he's looking at being one of the last picks in the 4th round. Now, I went this far because I would say, you can correct me on this, average rookie drafts are 4 years, or 4 rounds, right? You'd say about average.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of all mine are go no later than 3, but yeah, I've seen the average be around 4.
I mean, we're in a league that goes 4,
Yeah.
and obviously we're in IDP leagues that go 5. But I would say 4 is probably an average. Most people have 4 taxi spots, so that's why they have 4 rookie rounds. And this is mainly on start 10 type leagues. So in a single quarterback, he's probably going a little bit higher. I only see about 5 quarterbacks here, so probably end of the 3rd, early 4th. So he's either a guy that you're going to get with one of these last round swings. And here's the thing: he's a 3rd round pick. That's good draft capital for a guy that you're going to get at the back end of a rookie draft. Top of that, his competition isn't set in stone. He's not sitting behind. He didn't get drafted to the Jets, where he would have been stuck behind so many people that other people like. He's in a place where in a year, I mean, Noah Brown could be gone. Brandon Cooks will be gone. Who knows if Nico Collins is going to stay on? Who knows if John Michie he's back, but who knows if he's going to fully, incorporate recover? Granted, and actually the best thing about it too, I can't even say granted, you don't have to worry about the Texans drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. next year because they gave up their pick. So this receiver room is really wide open for him to come in, be an underneath guy in the slot, and really build with CJ Stroud, especially for a dart throw.
Yeah, and honestly, the only definite pass catching you have in that offense is Dalton Schultz, in my opinion, that you can rely on. As far as receiver goes, I mean, you got for some reason the Texans wide receiver room is like the walking wounded every year.
I am. Hang on, before you go there, because I'm going to get roasted for this. Brandon Cooks got sent to the Cowboys, but the Texans brought in Robert Woods, which just further emphasizes my point because Robert Woods is an older guy. Still emphasizes my point though. But continue.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't. I thought you meant Woods, but I thought I misheard you, so that's why I didn't say anything. But the wide receiver room for the Texans always seems like the walking wounded. It's like a triage room at a hospital.
Yeah.
At any given week, you've got 2 wide receivers out, so the opportunity is going to definitely be there. And just like we talked before, we've talked earlier in this show and on previous podcasts, having the young quarterback to come in with you and build that relationship, especially one that after being drafted says, go get me this person because they're giving them their stamp of approval. That's a high bonus. I mean, that's something, if you're already getting the trust of a quarterback that hasn't even took a snap for the team and he's saying that he wants somebody giving his stamp, that gives a huge stamp of approval, not only from the front office, but showing that there's going to be some kind of repertoire between the two and they can get in and do work together.
And this is very similar to a couple years ago, Nico Collins. You probably got him in the late 3rd, early 4th round of your rookie drafts at the time. And if you look at the value now, you couldn't sell if you tried buying Nico Collins from somebody for a 4th round pick, they would tell you no. They wouldn't do it because he's a rotational flex guy on bye weeks. He's worth more than a 4th. That's what I think Tank Dell could turn into. He could be worth more than a 4th, which there's how I look at rookie drafts, and we can talk about this in future episodes and everything. But when I look at rookie drafts, I look at them in 2 aspects. Is this guy going to play for me right away? Is he going to be an impact player? Can I rotate him in starting in my flex spot? Or can I flip him for better value next year? If I get a third round pick, does this guy look like he can develop into a 2024 second? That's how I look at these things. So that's my fourth round picks. I treat them the same. If you can't get a future third for your fourth, well, draft a guy that you think can turn his value up and can be worth that future third. And that's just kind of how you play with house money and you move up. So we're running low here on this time, so let's kind of keep it moving. Let's go back to your guy, your third and final guy. Who you got for us?
I've got Jalen Hyatt for the Giants. I know homer pick as always. Got to throw one in there occasionally, but I think this is a great landing spot for him. A wide receiver room that has components, but nobody really standing out. You have a lot of great role players, but not a great definite wide receiver one in this room. So he steps into a situation. Daniel Jones is young. He can open up the field. There's got tons of weapons around him. So he's not rushed into a situation that he has to be the guy, but he has the opportunity to be the guy. And that's something I really like. I loved him in Tennessee. I think he did an outstanding job. The SEC's secondary, as we could tell by previous drafts as well as this draft, is brutal. They produce some of the best defensive backs in the NFL, and being able to succeed in that is a benefit to his abilities. So, yeah, I'm going Hyatt. I think I got him. The latest I've seen him go is like 2.8. The earliest I've seen him go is like 2.4. So that range is going to produce possibly a good flex position for you. And worst case scenario, if you've got a good wide receiver core, stash him on your taxi squad. Somebody's going to need a wide receiver, or he has a couple games to blow up. Like Ty always says, always trade, always look for that value. And you may love him, but if he's sent on your taxi squad and you can get better value, then you deal.
So he's got an ADP right now of 26. So we're talking in Superflex leagues, early third, 3.02. In single quarterbacks, probably mid second round is where he would probably go. Actually, in single quarterbacks, so we probably see you're probably going to start seeing like one or two quarterbacks at the end of the first, and probably one or two quarterbacks mid second. So he might stay around like 210 range at best. So the only thing that we have going against him here now, he's a third round pick. So we like third round picks. This isn't a bad thing. Literally Tank Dell. What's weird here though is that if we look at the ADP difference, he's massively higher than Tank Dell, and I get the Giants don't have a definite there's no number one receiver there.
Yeah,
but it's Harris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Wan'Dale Robinson, Isaiah Hodges, Darren Waller, who is a tight end but plays in the slot. So it's like somebody's going to get cut here. Like somebody's going to get cut. And it's going to be a surprise. Probably James. I see him being a lot odd man out because of age. But on top of that, team runs the ball. I mean, Daniel Bellinger is a relatively decent second-year tight end coming in too. There's a lot of mouths to feed. So what this pick here, a third-round pick, it's easy to take a risk on. But Jalen Hyatt has to beat somebody out. He has to step up because right now he walks into week one. I mean, I'm going to put Campbell, Robinson, Hodges, Slayton, and Shepard all ahead of him. He's wide receiver 6 on his team right now.
Well, if Shepard comes back from the injury,
yes,
yeah,
I just see them being more of he's like a giant faithful type thing. That's kind of why. But I do see the time, shifting there. But that's the big worry on Hyatt is, and a lot of people were saying out of, getting drafted and everything, because some people were saying he's probably going to be a high first or mid first, he's going to get drafted high, like late first, early second, because he's got the speed and everything. And his route tree isn't that impressive is what we're hearing, but he's able to show that he can put on big plays on big days, and that's what big-time playmakers do. He dominated against Alabama with Hendon Hooker. It is a very friendly offense there in Tennessee, but he has a great opportunity here in the third round. I mean, realistically, if you got your quarterback and then you got a running back in the second, you can take swings on these receivers that are going to end up turning around and provide value. And in 2 years, we're not going to see Campbell, Crowder, Shepard, or Slayton on this Giants team. They're all going to be gone in 2 years. And so it's going to be potentially him and Wan'Dale Robinson and maybe Isaiah Hodgins. But if he can develop with Jones, this could be a pretty good steal for people too as well. Now, my last guy here in our 6 is Zay Flowers, ADP 9, 1.09 in single quarterbacks. He's probably going about the 1.6 or 1.7 range because I could see Anthony Richardson getting drafted in the top 8 in single quarterbacks still, just due to rushing upside. Here's the thing. Zay Flowers gets looked at as number 4. He's the 4th receiver. But I think you can make a case that he could be the number 1 receiver in this draft class. The reason why is that what do we talk about? We talk about new offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, where we think things are going to get switched around.
Yeah.
Who's in front of him right now? We have Rashad Bateman, who can't stay healthy. We have Odell Beckham Jr., who hasn't played in a year and is coming off of a major knee injury in his
second ACL.
Second, and he's 30 now. And so he's on a 1-year deal. And I'm sitting here and everybody's freaking out about this. And I'm just like, I don't understand what we're freaking out about, because outside of that, and those are the big things. We're talking about Nelson Aguilar, Devin Duvernay, James Prochet. Like, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a first-round receiver that has injury-prone guys in front of him that he can easily step in, with a quarterback that just got a major deal that the Baltimore Ravens are not going to be like, game all is guaranteed money. Lamar, let's go run 100 RPOs in the first 6 weeks. They're not going to do that. They're going to protect him. They have a good offensive line. And, the fact that Mark Andrews is able to take away such good coverage because he's such a good receiving tight end, it leaves people open across the middle. And Zay Flowers, I think, is going to be fantastic in open space. I think he's got that kind of like dog mentality in him, kind of similar to like DJ Moore is how I'd kind of put that in there, where you give him the ball in open space and he's going to make people miss and make people look silly. And I think people are like, especially if we think about guys that can be impacts right away from this rookie class, I think he could be the number 1 receiver on this team. Sure, yes, Mark Andrews tight end and everything, but 2 guys get the ball. We look at Jordan Addison, he's clearly behind Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. We look at Quentin Johnston, he's behind Allen and Mike Williams and Eckler as well, who catches a lot of passes. Yeah. And then we talk about JSN, he's clearly behind DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So when I talk about good values to make you a winner, this guy does 2 things. A, he's going to develop and be a long-term guy for you. But B, he's a flex play from week 1, in my opinion. Where I can't say that about those other receivers. I can say they have better long-term value. But week 1, Zay Flowers could start for you. And by week 4, he could have 20 catches and 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. And everybody's like, whoa, these are the best stats out of 4 weeks. That's not great stats I just put up there. It's just like 62 yards a game and 5 catches. But he's a guy that I think right away can look like the guy and can in return produce good return value for you right out the gate. And so I just think he's a guy that I think you could really take advantage of getting, especially at the back end of first if you're a contender.
Oh, most definitely. I'm seeing Flowers, which I'm trying to get right now. Trying to work with a stubborn owner that thinks that his draft capital is gold and is 10 times higher on players than their actual value. So trying to work out a deal there. The only pass option that he has to contend with is Andrews, in my opinion. Outside of that, I mean, at worst, his ceiling is top option. His floor is option number 2, in my opinion, which is good. You don't want to let Lamar run after signing that big contract, risking injury. You want to protect your investment. So you're going to see him throwing the ball a lot more. And who better to throw it to than a young, speedy receiver that can create separation, get downfield, and make plays.
And now we give our 6 guys. Those 6 guys, if you come out in the draft with them, you're going to look like a winner. If you've got the 1-4 or like 1-5 and all the quarterbacks are gone, you don't need a quarterback, you trade back, you might get a lot of these picks together in some big bundle. So to review, if you could come out with, Zay Flowers, ADP of 9, you're a winner. Kendre Miller, ADP of 14, running back, winner. Jonathan Mingo, ADP of 16. What do we got next? Roshan Johnson, running back, ADP 24. Jalen Hyatt, ADP 26. And then Tank Dell, ADP 44. Now, I'm going to give you guys 3 guys that are going either at the very last pick, 4.12, or are going undrafted, and they're ranging anywhere from rookie 47, 48 to rookie like 55 that I think you could pick up or trade back in and get them above their ADP, and they're going to be great little stashes for you in the taxi squad. Those guys are Tucker Kraft, tight end for Green Bay from South Dakota State University, ADP of 48. He is currently projected in most superflex leagues to go at 412. In single quarterbacks, he's probably going a little bit earlier, but he comes in a situation where, yes, he was drafted after Luke Musgrave. However, he is a better blocker than Musgrave. And I think that he's a big body type of receiver. He doesn't go down as easy. He's not as flashy. He's just a very consistent, safe guy that I think that he could carve out a nice role in Green Bay. And I think he'll end up being a better tight end than Musgrave, in my opinion. Could be localism, that I have here on him, but he has a really good chance to be that safe holder for Jordan Love. But also on top of that, tight ends that can block well end up getting on the field faster and longer than other, receiving threats, especially in teams that like to run the ball. And he stays in a cold weather area where he's used to. What are your thoughts on Tucker Kraft?
I think he's got the opportunity there. And when you're switching quarterbacks, you're switching your whole scheme around. Now, if Rodgers was still in Green Bay, I would not agree with this, but look what you can do with a 2 tight end set. Look at, what New England did with a 2 tight end set with having 2 athletic tight ends. One was a better blocker, one was a better pass catcher,
and
but really both were relevant.
We don't really know what Love's going to prefer yet.
Yeah, and even with that, opportunities for them to be on the field together is going to create opportunities to catch passes. Or, if you are blocking, if you're protecting your quarterback's going to reward you. He's going to be looking at you, because a quarterback doesn't like to be on the ground. So this gives him a huge upside, a huge leg up, being out there as a blocker, protecting his quarterback, and building a nice bond with Love, and being able to go out there, catch, like you said, big body receiver, hard to bring down. This kid is a truck, and I think it's a good investment to stash on your taxi side and just see what happens.
Yeah, when we talk about this, Green Bay doesn't use a lot of 2 tight ends, but Matt LaFleur has been talking about wanting to implement it, and so we have to wait and see. But if that happens, it's something that they got to beat DeGuara out at the tight end area, and I think Musgrave is a guy that can line up at slot a lot more, and that's just why I like Tucker Kraft here. If you have Travis Kelce, he's the perfect tight end for you. He's the perfect tight end for you to get and just to kind of sit and wait, because I think he's better than a couple of the tight ends that got drafted ahead of him, and he's going to make people kind of regret, not getting him sooner. The next guy that I have is ADP at 51, so this is undrafted free agent, we can say. This is wide receiver A.T. Perry. He ended up getting drafted by the New Orleans Saints in the 5th round. He's 195. I believe that's 5th or I don't have it down. It's a 6th, early 6th. So he goes in the early 6th round.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that 6'5", 205 pounds. He's a tall dude. We talk about this all the time. Are we really worried about Rashid Shaheed or Traquan Smith or Kawan Baker, Kenneth Kirkwood? I'm not worried about those guys. Olave can do his thing. Michael Thomas can do his thing. The tight end room looks a little better with Foster Marino coming in, and they have Taysom Hill and Juwan Johnson. But that number 3 role at receiver isn't locked in. And I think A.T. Perry is a guy that is not getting enough credit. Granted, yes, he's a 6th round draft pick, but I think that he looked good enough in college that I'm going to take the stab on him and picking him up right away off of waivers. Last year, let's see, about 1,300 yards on 71 receptions and 15 touchdowns as well. And yeah, that's a massive leap in 2021. And then last year, he put up almost 1,100 yards on 81 receptions and 11 touchdowns as well. Scores a lot of touchdowns. It's a really reliable receiver. And he's a guy that there's a nice opportunity for him to sneak into a number 3 role.
Yeah, and there's still a lot of question marks with Michael Thomas. I mean, he was out all last year, and people say, well, his body could heal and everything, but time still ticks. Your father time does not take a break.
No.
So the older you get, the harder it is to recover from injuries to get back to that level. So we're looking at what Thomas has been really out essentially 2 years.
Yeah.
So 2 years of not competing, it may save your body from the wear and tear, but father time is still there. So him stepping into this could have essentially dethroned Thomas as the number 2 option in New Orleans.
That's pretty bold. That's pretty bold to say. I mean, a lot of things got to go right.
Well, I'm saying he get unseated right. Because one, we got a lot of question marks around him. Thomas is older. Yeah. Who knows how extensive the surgery really was to keep him out all last year. And, that wide receiver room is muddled. So the opportunity's there. You got a new quarterback in Carr. So I think this is a great just waiver wire pickup. Like you said, you don't have to actually worry about trying to move up to get him or anything. He's going to be there most likely when your draft concludes.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a guy you can probably pick up late round 4th need and everything. He's just a stash. He's a stash and hope, but he's in a good spot to potentially carve out a role. And now the number 9 guy, the last guy here, this isn't necessarily if you draft this guy, you're going to be a winner and go find him, but I think that he has a really good opportunity to return good value. That's quarterback Clayton Tune out of the University of Houston. He is 24 years old. He went to the Arizona Cardinals in the 4th round, 139, 6'2", 215. And with Kyler Murray potentially being out for who knows how long, really who knows. And if you're the Cardinals, I would sit him out the whole year because I want the number 1 pick locked in just for trade value. But on top of that, all he's got to do is beat out Colt McCoy to potentially get snaps and start. And if he can start and can kind of provide some value, he's going to not be a guy that is going to be a long-term thing for you, but he's a guy you can put on your taxi and then he gets 1 or 2 starts and you can flip him for a future late round pick. Then that's just kind of what you do. But he can provide that. And, he was fantastic at Houston. I mean, we have he has back-to-back years of, hitting 30 touchdowns plus and only 10 interceptions. And he hits 4,000 yards. So he's a big-time passer. Houston has really good offense. He was, Tank Dell was his guy. But he's just a nice little stash you can get for next to nothing that could return for, a future 4th or 3rd round pick for you. And with all that being said, we're done here. So go out and draft those 6 guys, pick up these 3 guys at the very end of the 4th or waiver wire, and you're going to be a winner this year in your rookie draft. And next week, we're going to talk about some guys that you just stay away. Stay away. They're going to make you a loser in the draft, and you don't want to be a loser in the draft. It's the most nerve-wracking thing. So make sure you guys subscribe, like, follow along, and keep up. Go on Twitter. If you're there on Twitter, go follow us on Twitter. We got polls running out all week long, all summer long. Jason's got some good polls going on for you guys. All that being said, see you later.